Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited to show you all a little video by Steorg. Hasn't been making too much content lately, but it looks like he's coming back to the Wuthering Waves game, and he's come out with this banger. How Kuro made the best feature in Gacha gaming. I got a preview of the thumbnail. It's going to be focused on flight, and I'm excited to see how he's going to break it down for all of us today. So with that, let's go ahead. Let's get right on into it.
Exploration in gacha games has been getting repetitive over the years. Genshin Impact has been dominating this for years, but a lot of people got bored of the open world experience, because the open world experience in gacha games is just something that is hyped a little bit when we have a new zone, and it just gets really repetitive very fast until we got the best implementation that we could have. The best new feature in gacha gaming, which has been introduced in Wuthering Waves, the flight system. Now, flying in gacha games, or
I think that's fair to say, right? A lot of people have been saying that this has been sort of like the difference maker for them in terms of exploring the world. It's been the difference maker for them in livening up the experience. I know a lot of content creators who are like, I didn't even complete exploration in 1.0. I kind of like quit the game halfway through 1.0's exploration. And now that 2.0 is finally here, now that 2.0 is here, now that we have flight, now that we have like this method of getting around the map, challenging verticality, I've 100%ed the entire region. And for some creators too, it's influenced them to actually go back to 1.0 and complete it as well. I have all the personal anecdotes, right, to sort of back up what we're seeing over here. I mean, let's be honest here, right? That's not solid evidence. That's not solid proof, but at the end of the day, right, you got to take people's word for it occasionally.
Or open world gacha games has been implemented a little with characters in Genshin Impact and Tower Fantasy, and I was one of the first people that did suggest this new edition, or the flight edition, in Wuthering Waves.
This is fucking Tower Fantasy, right? All I gotta say about this TOF flying over here is that this is slow as shit. This is so goddamn slow, and I'm pretty sure it's limited by cooldowns, and I'm pretty sure a great way to unlimit it would be to pay some extra money for the character's abilities. That's kind of what it seems like over here. And we all know how it was for characters like Wanderer, for Cloud Retainer, all that good stuff, right? Gotta pay for that.
Since the beta, some people did disagree with this, saying that it might ruin the game, but that is where Kuro Games are doing their job. They implemented this flight system and a new open world that does work with that flight system. It is not limited to a character, it does not require you to pay for anything, it is completely free with no limitations.
I think he's right about to get into it with Carlotta, actually.
Yes, you have some stamina bar, but it is really easy to fill it up. And as somebody who got really tired of exploration and, you know, the typical gacha exploration, I had so much fun, and I'm still having so much fun with the flight system.
Okay, he did get into it. So a lot of people, right, they were critiquing the flight, and they were actually drawing comparisons to Genshin Impact. They were saying things like,
oh, well, Carlotta has a stamina bar increase or a flight stamina decrease, and you have to pay for her, or she's on banner, and so it's actually just the same as Genshin Impact. It's just the same as Genshin Impact, by the way.
what they didn't know is that there's actually food in the game that you can just cook that does the exact same thing. There's actually just food in the game that you can cook and eat that literally just does the exact same thing. Let me know when there's food in Genshin Impact that summons a motorcycle that can fly.
With the flight system. Why did I do this video now, since it's almost been a month since 2.0 came out? It's because I wanted to see if after all of this hype, after the initial phase of 2.0, will I still enjoy this? And yes, I'm still enjoying it. I'm still logging in and flying. I'm just exploring. If I find something, I just explore it. I just fight the mobs, and I have fun with the open world. And what Kuro Games did with Wuthering Waves here is that they made the world suitable for this feature, because the world is a little bigger than before, and it's not closed up. It's made so that you can explore it in the flight mode and not just in the normal mode. So what they did is that they made a beautiful world, so whenever you use the flight mode, you're like exploring something beautiful, but at the same time, you're getting rewarded with the fun exploring method, because now the game is more fast-paced. And you know, I feel like the exploration was a little overwhelming, not only in Genshin, not only in Wuthering Waves, but almost any game. Whenever they added this feature, it's just fun. It's something that you want to do instead of something that you just want to complete to 100%. 100%. No, for me, I don't care for now to 100% anything. Instead, I wanna have fun with the mobility and explore because I like what I see.
He just like walked right by a fucking chest. He actually landed right next to it. He was just like, fuck that. Fuck the chest. Fuck the objective. I just want to fly more. I love that he put that in because he's definitely going to piss some people off with that one. He's definitely going to piss some people off with that one. And I guess this is like another thing when it comes to flight, right? I see a couple of people's talking about how the flight might have gotten old. The exploration might have gotten old because they've already 100%ed the map. We still have 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, however many versions there are, and however many map expansions there are going to be to Rinascita. And that also means, ladies and gentlemen, that there's going to be more areas for you to use more of that flight in. There's going to be more areas for you to use that flight in. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be that same level of refreshment and feeling.
I want to see it because what they did is that they made me curious with this world. I want to see what's happening because it's fun. It's not something crazy. You just add something fun that makes you want to explore or just want to use it. You only want to fly in the game. You don't really want to explore, but by flying, you're currently also exploring, so it will makes you also excited to explore the game. Instead of just using an interactive map and searching to 100% it, you are just flying and, you know, maybe putting some music and just playing the game. It's very immersive, it's very good. And this gives more depth to a game because, to be honest, I only care about the end game in these games. If there's a little cool challenge and of course if there is a story, I will have fun, but I will not really explore as I was because I explored a lot in Genshin and I got tired of that. But now with Wuthering Waves and what they added, it's just so good. And here's the thing, people are agreeing with this. People are now having more fun with 2.0. It's getting praised a lot, and I'm pretty sure that the flight mode is probably one of the biggest things that people will talk about.
I think that's true. I think that's 100% true. The flight is definitely the main attractor, I think, to a lot of people. There's a reason why I think a lot of like the advertising, I think a lot of the kind of like gameplay footage that is circulating around is focused on the flying. And I think it's a bit of a breath of fresh air when you think about how Wuwa was kind of like advertised, how Wuwa was kind of depicted in the past, where a lot of it was focused on the combat, right? Okay, maybe there was like a clip or two of somebody running up the walls, very nice, very cool, and using some of like the grapple points. But I do think a lot of it was focused on the combat. And I think what flying has done and the implementation of flying has done is it's added another layer to the advertising, another layer to sort of like the value of the Wuthering Waves product. And it's become such a core element of the gameplay and a core element of what's drawing people in that a lot of people, right, are now asking for it to be added to the older regions of the game. And frankly, right, that might be something that they decide to implement, but that would require a lot of, you know, retooling of existing assets, retooling of the existing map. And you also have to think about it this way, guys. For a large portion of the player base that has already explored 1.0 and has already done stuff in 1.0, adding flying to those regions, it doesn't do like a massive amount to their experience. It's kind of like a low value add for a large portion of the player base, to be fair.
Or maybe it's the main thing actually that made the game that fun. It was like a missing part of all of the equation. By just adding this, every other thing will become fun. And this is why I like Wuthering Waves and Kuro games. They're just being creative with their game. They're adding something good. It's not like flight doesn't exist in other games if we exclude Gacha games, but they know how to implement it. They knew how to make it good. Because for people who say that flight might ruin a game, that is true. It really depends on the way that you can implement it. Because a game like Tower Fantasy did implement this in a lot of characters. Yes, it wasn't free. It was tied to characters, but it was tied to a lot of characters. So it's basically if you get a character, you're gonna get more mobility. And a good example would be the character Rubilia. This character, you just press a right click and you fly a lot. It made the exploration way better, way more fun, but it was limited to a character and it didn't give you that much control. Yes, Mavuika also had this good feature that you can fly a little in Genshin, but it's not free and it's very, very limiting.
Chaska can fly too, right? I feel like Chaska has like a little bit way better flight than Mavuika does. So maybe a bit of a miss there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure her flight is a lot better than Mavuika's. 1000%. 100%, yeah.
While in Wuthering Waves, they made it free, and also you can control it the way you want, and it's so fast too. And you also can control the speed. This reminds me of the dragon flights in World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft had a flying system since forever now. All they did was just change the flight system, make it faster, make it more fun, and people liked it. Yes, some people are still choosing to use the other way because it takes less skill and you can, AFK with it. But other than that, people liked it a lot. And that's what I'm seeing in Wuthering Waves too. It's a very, very good system. It's a very good addition, and it can never get old. It will always be good because all they have to do now is add new regions with cool exploration, because that's what they've been adding before, but it didn't have the flight system. And not only that, even this flight system can get improved and get better and more fun whenever it gets a little old. And I am pretty sure that I'm not the only one that is experiencing something as good as this. Not only that, with adding this, they also made other features that makes you faster and have more mobility in the game, like these things that you can pick out and it makes you faster on the ground. It's all about the mobility. It's all about making everything faster, even though the world looks big.
I guess this is the thing, right? All of these like little mobility things that we're talking about over here, you do have them in the other games. You think about Genshin Impact, you have your Yelan, you have your Wanderers, right? You have your Sayus, whatever. All of those characters that are way faster than the default sprinting speed. Your Mualanis, right? They're all faster than the default sprinting speed. They're all able to get you to areas A to B to C a lot quicker, but they cost money. They literally cost money, and they cost a team slot. You don't get to play who you want necessarily in terms of like the combat feel and the combat playstyle, and you're forced to slot them in the team to have a good overworld experience, right? People say that like the premier exploration team in Genshin Impact, right, is like Yelan, Wanderer, Sayu, whoever the fuck else, but then you gotta play those goddamn characters. That's the other thing. Imagine you actually don't like playing those characters. Go fuck yourself. It's just like, go fuck yourself. And it's such a shame. It is such a shame when you think about it, because Wuthering Waves letting you put in whatever team comp you want to get a good exploration experience means that there's just inherently a lot more value for every single character on your roster. It's not like, oh, you're pulling somebody just for the overworld. We have a little bit of that right now, but that's just because Rosia is a good grouper. You're not pulling her for like how fast she moves around the map. She's actually the fucking slowest because she's a child model and she runs fucking slow. It's because she has grouping in her kit. It's because of her combat abilities that you're pulling her for the overworld, not because of her mobility. And that just makes it feel like so many characters on the roster are a lot more viable, a lot more usable. And again, you're pulling them for their kits in combat. You're not pulling them for their kits in just making the game feel like less of a chore. And that's just, I mean, most people, I think 90% of people that have experienced the predatory shit in Genshin, they think that's better. And TOF for that regard.
It doesn't look as big as before, so it now feels like something fun to do instead of a chore. Now, I know that I'm very late about talking about 2.0, but I'm making more videos about the game after the hype went on and, after the whole honeymoon phase with the game, especially since like it looks like a second launch for the game and it really works. And, the game got way more popular, and developers really need to learn from Kura Games and Wuthering Waves, because what they did is unexpectedly so good. The game is now in its best state ever. It is now not only competing with gacha games, it is a really good free-to-play game. You just play this game and have so much fun, and for a value of a free-to-play game, you don't have to pay in the game. I'm playing the game without paying money as much because the developers are being so generous and making the game fun to be played free-to-play. I really think that if you wail in this game, you're not gonna have the best experience, to be fair. You're gonna have fun, play free-to-play, or maybe be a low spender.
I think the most optimal way to enjoy Wuthering Waves is pretty simple. I don't think being free-to-play is the best way to enjoy the game. I think the best way to enjoy the game is to pay enough to pull every single character and their limited weapon. I think that's it. One copy of the character and one copy of their weapon. That's probably the best way to enjoy the game. And I think if you try to make the argument that like free to play is more enjoyable than that, I think you're being disingenuous, because the character kits are what makes the gameplay fun, because each character kit plays so differently. This isn't like fucking Genshin Impact where half the characters literally feel like they're the exact same. They just have different visual effects. Every single one does something entirely different throughout their rotation and throughout their gameplay. And they all have different advantages and disadvantages in all of the different types of content. And if that's, you know, if that's the case, then yeah, pulling all of these different characters to get all these different elements across your gameplay is going to be the best way to enjoy it, because you're going to be able to have the most fresh experiences possible. 1000%. That's my take on spending.
So yes, it's true. I always agree. It's a gacha game. It's a pay-to-win game. It's better than a lot of these games that are not even free to play and even not pay-to-win, okay? Let's face it, Wuthering Waves is in a very good level right now, and they are still improving. They can still improve. Anyway, thank you for watching. That was the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah, I would say overall, pretty great rundown by Steorg. I kind of wish he put in some more of like, kind of like the mechanics of flight, a little bit more around like maybe some of like the food, some of like the built-in benefits, how they can spice up flight in a sense. Maybe they could spice up flight in a sense through different buffs or something like that. I would have made mention about like how Carlotta's kit has like an inherent skill that benefits flight, and parts of it were like a little bit rambly, especially towards the end. But overall, I think it was like a great rundown. I think it was a great rundown and gave the honest truth on the matter. So let me know what you all think. Peace out.